Hello friends, our today's topic is Indian Accounting Standard 16, Property, Plant and Equipments. First, let's see what is PPE. PP stands for Property, Plant and Equipments, which we normally consider it as fixed asset. This accounting standard is used to recognize any asset as non-current asset. We classify our assets as current asset and non-current asset. This accounting standard is used to classify the assets as non-current asset on the basis of various rules given in this accounting standard. So basically, instead of calling PP, we can call it as fixed asset, but it must be noted that all fixed assets are not covered under PPE. Certain fixed assets only are covered under PPE, and the rules which are given in this accounting standard are applicable for certain fixed assets only and not all fixed assets. In coverage of PPE, it covers how to measure the initial cost of a fixed asset. Then on revaluation, how to make accounting for evaluation. Next, use of depreciation method and classification of fixed asset on the basis of biological or bearer plants. The fixed asset or PPE includes the following cost. First is cost of asset. In cost of asset, we must include the non-refundable amount of tax. But in case of any discount received, it should be deducted. Here, non-refundable amount of tax is any tax for which we cannot claim credit afterwards. So it is part of purchase price. When we purchase some asset, we have to pay certain amount of tax, and all these taxes should be added to cost of fixed asset provided they are not refundable in future. Next is initial delivery and handling cost. When we purchase some fixed asset or any machinery or any plant, it is purchased and thereafter it is installed or it is transported in our premises. So this cost of transportation, then cost of loading and unloading of machinery and handling cost, all these contribute to the cost of fixed asset, because unless we spend for all these expenses, we cannot use that fixed asset. Only purchasing the machinery at supplier's location will not produce the goods for our company. It must be transported or it must be brought to our premises, installed, and then we can use that machinery. So all the charges regarding delivery of the goods up to our factory and our manufacturing location should be added to cost of fixed asset. Next is installation cost. For any asset, any machinery, installation is compulsory. Without installation, we cannot use that particular machinery. So installation cost is part of fixed asset. Then testing cost. After installation, we have to test whether the machinery is producing the standard or desired output. For that purpose, testing is compulsory. So while testing any machinery, we have to spend certain amount for raw material. It can be for operating of the machinery in order to confirm whether the machinery serves the purpose for which it is purchased. So testing cost is also included in cost of fixed asset. Next is borrowing cost. Borrowing cost we have already covered in separate accounting standard. So borrowing cost is cost incurred on interest, cost incurred on interest, which is payable on loan specifically taken for fixed asset. So borrowing cost is paid only for acquisition of fixed asset, not for regular operations of the fixed asset. So that must be added to cost of fixed asset, provided it is paid up to the date when the asset is brought in usable condition. Next part is professional fees for machinery or any plant. We need some expert advice. So if we have paid some professional fees or consultancy charges at the time of purchasing the machinery, or at the time of installation, or at the time of use, efficient use, all these expenses are added to fixed asset. Then site preparation cost. Then site preparation cost, and next point is employee benefits paid in construction equipment. These items are related with installation of the plant or machinery, but it is indirectly concerned with installation. Where we want to install the machinery, it is essential to prepare the location before we purchase the machinery. So while preparing the location or site for the plant, we need to spend certain amount. It is infrastructure cost, but as this cost is incurred for installation of particular machinery, it is part of the cost of that machinery. So any amount paid for site preparation is part of that fixed asset cost. And last one is cost of removal after end of useful life. When we purchase some plant, there is some estimated life. After completion of estimated life, we have to incur some cost for removal of the plant from the site. Also sometimes the land is purchased or it can be let out. So if that land is used on rental basis, then after completion of the contract, we have to clear the machinery from the plot. So for uninstallation of the machinery, we have to pay certain amount, that is called as cost of removal, and it is also part of fixed asset. Even if it is not paid on the date of installation, it is payable in future, but it is part of fixed asset. At the time of purchase, estimated cost of removal of the asset is included in fixed asset. Here is one example. A company has paid site preparation expense 1 lakh, installation, trial run, operating cost, machinery cost, GST non-refundable, then consultant fees and removal cost estimated. From all these expenses, let's calculate the cost of machinery. Let's see one by one. Site preparation is part of fixed asset. Installation charges compulsorily we have to pay. Trial run, it is essential to confirm whether the product is as per our requirements. So trial run is part of fixed asset. Operating cost. Operating cost is cost of manufacturing the goods. So we cannot include this cost in cost of fixed asset. It is transferred to profit and loss account. Next one is cost of machinery. Cost of machinery itself is fixed asset cost, so it must be considered. Then non-refundable GST, as it is non-refundable, it is part of fixed asset. Then consultant fees, consultant fees should be included in fixed asset. And lastly, removal cost, it is payable after 5 years, but it is essential, so it is included in cost of fixed asset. So as it is discussed, Site preparation include, installation charges and trial run include, operating cost 30,000, it should be excluded, it is transferred to P&L account. Then cost of machinery 10 lakh, GST, consultant fees and removal charges. All these charges should be added to cost of machinery. So finally, after excluding the operating cost, machinery cost is 15 lakh. There are certain items which are considered as expenses, but they cannot be added to the cost of fixed asset. So that includes introduction of new product. It is cost of launching a new product which is manufactured using the new machine. So this cost should not be included because it is operating cost, or it is cost of marketing, which we cannot add to any fixed asset. Next is conducting the business at new location. So it is expansion cost. In expansion cost, we have to pay some expenses towards advertising or marketing or shifting expense, but they do not contribute to fixed asset. There is no change, no improvement in asset, so we cannot include this cost in fixed asset. Next one is training cost. We need to provide training to the workers or employees regarding handling of new machine. This cost cannot be included in fixed asset because it is employee cost, it is administrative cost which must be transferred to P&L account. Next is admin and other overheads. These overheads are operational cost or operating cost, so they are transferred to P&L account, not part of fixed asset. Next is initial operating losses. When we run the machinery as trial run and we get the desired output, afterwards there are certain operating losses due to mishandling of the goods or improper use of machinery. So all these losses are just operating losses. They are part of normal loss which is debited to P&L account. So it cannot be added to machinery because it does not improve the asset. It is due to improper handling or any mistake which is committed by workers. So it is normal loss which is to be transferred to profit and loss account. And one more is cost of relocating. It cannot be included because once the machinery is installed at particular location, the cost of removal and installation at some new location cannot be included in fixed asset, because once the installation is complete, immediate removal from that particular site is unusual expense. It is complete loss for the business. It does not improve the cost of asset. So cost of relocating cannot be included in fixed asset. PP is not applicable for certain assets. In that, first one is asset which is held for sale. Normally we call this asset as stock. So if any asset which is purchased for selling purpose, it cannot be considered as a non-current asset, or PP is not applicable to such asset. Next is biological asset related to agricultural activities. There are certain exceptions, but any asset which is related to agricultural activities is not covered under PP. No doubt it is a fixed asset, but this accounting standard does not provide guidelines for such biological asset. One more is measurement of exploration of assets. This exploration of assets is applicable to mineral rights and mineral reserves like oil, natural gas, and non-regenerative resources. So PP does not cover the wasting assets like mines and forests. Here example is given, crude oil wells is asset. It is not regenerative. So it is fixed asset, but PPE is not applicable to this particular asset. So we can recognize it as fixed asset, but we cannot apply the rules given in PPE to such asset. It does not mean mines or forests are our current assets. They are fixed assets only, but we should not apply rules covered under PPE to such asset, including agricultural and biological assets. In order to recognize any asset as non-current asset, it must satisfy basic two criteria. First is it must provide future economic benefits. That means the asset should generate some income in future. And second thing, its cost must be measurable. So we must be able to measure the cost incurred for that asset. If there is guarantee of future income, but if the cost is not measurable, we cannot consider it as non-current asset. The cost must be measurable. Otherwise, we can use even fair market value, but the cost must be measurable using some or the other criteria, and the asset should generate some future economic benefits. So both conditions should be applicable. If some asset has measurable cost, but it is not in a position to provide some future economic benefits, then we cannot consider it as non-current asset. Next part is how to calculate the subsequent expenditure. That is future expenditure for a fixed asset. Once the installation is complete, we have to pay for some maintenance expense or operating expenses, repairs and maintenance cost, or major repairs. All these expenses are incurred for fixed asset, but from these expenses, only some items can be added to fixed asset and other items are considered as routine expense or revenue expense, which are chargeable to profit and loss account. The cost includes upgradation of asset. If the amount is paid for upgrading the asset, then it can be added to PPE. Next is replacement cost. If there is replacement of major part, important part of the machinery, it should be added to cost of PPE. Next is overhauling or major repairs to the machinery. After using the asset for few years, there is major repair to the asset. Without such major repair, the asset cannot function effectively. So such cost of major repairs should be added to the cost of PP. We can take example of replacement of car battery. Periodically, we have to change the battery for the car. So that expense is not a regular expense. And without replacement of the battery, we cannot use the car or any vehicle effectively. So such cost of major repair should be added to cost of fixed asset. Similarly, changing the tires of a vehicle is also replacement cost. It is not complete replacement of the asset, but it is essential replacement, which is beneficial for more than 1 year, more than 12 months. So it is added to cost of fixed asset. So we can call any expense which is beneficial for more than 12 months and it is concerned with fixed asset can be added to PPE. It can be added to cost of fixed asset. Next part in PPE, Indian accounting standard is valuation models. First is cost model, where the asset is shown at original cost less accumulated depreciation over the period of time. It is normally followed by most of the companies for most of the assets. And another is revaluation model. If there is vast difference in cost of asset and market price of the asset, then business can revalue the asset. In that case, the amount to be shown in balance sheet is revalued amount less subsequent depreciation. In case of revaluation of asset, there can be either increase or decrease in the value. As I have already told, revaluation is essential if there is huge difference in cost and market value of the fixed asset. So there must be increase in the value or decrease in the value of fixed asset after evaluation. So such difference should be credited to revaluation reserves if it increases the value of fixed asset. So when there is increase in value of asset, it is gain for the company. This gain cannot be considered as regular gain, so we cannot transfer it to profit and loss account. It is unusual profit, so it is transferred to revaluation reserves. As the name is indicative, revaluation reserves is created out of revaluation of fixed asset. And next is decrease in the value. If the value of asset decreases after evaluation, then the difference should be debited to P&L account. Even if it is unusual loss, we cannot carry forward the loss. It should be transferred to P&L account itself. So when increase, show show as revaluation reserves, and when there is decrease, transfer to P&L account. Here is one example of revaluation. If book value of asset is 8 lakh and after evaluation it is rupees 10 lakh. So here is increase in the value of rupees 2 lakh, which should be shown as revaluation reserves. In case book value 8 lakh and after evaluation it is 7 lakh, then there is decrease in the value by rupees 1 lakh. This 1 lakh should be transferred to P&L account. And last part is what is biological asset. Biological asset includes living plants or animals. Animals can be livestock or biological assets. Now certain category of animals is used for resale purpose and some animals are used for production purpose. Like example is given, biological assets include animals like goats, sheep, cow, buffalo and fish. Now some animals are used for selling purpose, but animals like cow, buffalo, they are used for production purpose. We get milk from cow and buffalo. So if the business is involved in milk selling business, then cow and buffaloes are biological asset for them. Their business is not selling the cows and buffaloes, they are selling the milk. So and after classification of biological asset, there is a slight difference between bearer plants and biological asset. Bearer plant itself is a biological asset, but difference is it is useful for more than one accounting period. So even if we call it as plant, particularly it is a tree which has long life, and such bearer asset is useful for more than one accounting period. So it is part of biological asset, but it is beneficial for more than one accounting period. Example is given here, mango tree or coconut tree, which is beneficial for long term. and particularly biological asset produces the goods for selling purpose, and such plants are not useful for more than one accounting period. Example is given: tea plantation or vegetables. Any type of vegetable. For the purpose of understanding, one example is given: tomato tree. This tree is not useful for more than one accounting year. Again, in next year, you have to plant the trees again. So in biological assets, when we call it as plant, they can be bearer plant or biological plant. Bearer plant are useful for more than 1 year, and other which are not beneficial for more than one accounting year are directly considered as biological asset. So all this is about PPE, which assets are covered under PPE, in how we have to calculate the cost of any fixed asset, which expenses should be included in fixed assets, which expenses should be excluded from fixed asset, and how the valuation should be shown in balance sheet either on cost model or evaluation model basis. So thank you.